Recording in progress.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I would like to start by welcoming everyone and thanking you for joining us this evening to discuss this important bond proposal for Clawson Public Schools, August 8th, 2023. So to begin with, I'll introduce myself and the team who is on the call tonight. Billy Schellenbarger, Clawson Public School Superintendent. I'm joined by Mary Lefevre from Chrisman Company, Brett Gillespie from Chrisman Company, Nikki Kirchner and Stacy Helm from Chrisman Company. Also Brian Smilnak from Wakely, our architectural firm. Steve Melcher, our Director of Technology, and Kevin Terratuta, our Finance and Business Director. That is the team that is on the call tonight. So again, thank you for sharing a sunny, beautiful summer evening with us. We will take an hour or less, likely less, to go over this information for our school, or Clawson Public School District. So I'll start by talking about the bond proposal itself. So it is a zero mill bond proposal overview, and that's what we're going to discuss tonight. By zero mills, we mean that is no tax increase for our Clawson residents. That will be on the ballot on August 8th. And for any information that has come out prior to tonight and will come out beyond after tonight, you certainly can visit clawsonbond2023.com. This presentation will be uploaded to that site as well. So all the information that we gather and we utilize will be pushed out to that website. So feel free to take a look as you have time. So that's a little bit about what we're going to embark on. Now to dig in a little bit more to what's on tap. So with the 2023 bond proposal that is on the ballot on August 8th, we want to talk about why it's there and why we're here in this discussion, what drove us to get here. Certainly also how we got here, from a community perspective, community-driven perspective is important, is a huge piece of this, and we'll talk about that aspect as well. The bond itself, the proposal overview, what that entails, the details of it, which I've mentioned a couple times already, August 8th. So it will come upon us quickly, and then we'll close with some open discussion, Q&A, etc. So what we think is the best way to handle any questions this evening is to open to all of them and any of them, and we welcome them, certainly, please. Maybe hang on to them to the end, and we'll do the Q&A at the end, either through the chat or the raising of the hand opportunity on WebEx, which I think, Mary, maybe when you get to your first slide, if you want to, or right now, maybe you want to do that. You're kind of a pro at that. Will you let everybody know how to raise their hand when and if they need to?
Sure thing. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, there should be a little hand. And if you press that hand, then it'll pop up on the screen in front of your name. So we'll answer the questions as they are done in order. Alternately, there's a little bubble in the lower right-hand corner, and that is the chat. And you can just type in your question in the chat, and we can do it that way as well. So either one is good.
Perfect, thank you. And then once you click on that hand, actually, I'm learning WebEx myself a little bit. Once we've gotten to you, you can just click it again and it takes it off for you, takes it down for you. So let's talk about the why, the key drivers. So this dates back about a year. So Chrisman came to us about a year ago to talk to us about everybody was dealing with, whether it was at the gas pump, at the grocery store, on vacation, or with a $55 million bond project from 2021, and that is inflation. So the market and the pandemic certainly drove some things up to unprecedented times and numbers, and we were not immune to that. So they came to us with what that $55 million was now essentially getting us based on the original scope of work, and it was clear that we needed between $5 and $7 million additionally based on the market conditions that the pandemic drove up, and inflation itself was really coming to bear for us. So we needed to make some decisions at that point in time. Again, this was about a year ago. So what we needed to do was either just simply reduce our scope, as you can see that bullet, and take off some of the scope of work that was promised to our voters who passed the 2021 bond, or we can do some diligence to find out if there is anything else we can do related to any type of zero mil bond options for us. So we did that. Our finance director, Kevin Terratuta, he'll talk about that shortly, but he went after that to find out what we could do. So we decided that with some opportunity to go after upwards of $25.5 million, and as I said, upwards of that, we hadn't made that decision yet. We decided to start the process of discussing it. And that process gave the opportunity to ask our voters to consider something in August of 23. And we went about that pretty strategically. And we'll get to that in a minute, kind of how we got there. But what it would do would enable the district to complete the renovation, certainly. But then it walked us through our campuses and gave us an opportunity to really take a look at what else do our students and families and staff need to really bring the educational experience to the 21st century. And there was plenty of opportunity. So we embarked on that discussion. And certainly one of those big ones was cost savings around operations and energy efficiency. That was huge. So if you go back, if you were paying attention 3 years ago when we started this conversation about what's happening to public schools and Clawson specifically, declining enrollment is really impacting school districts across our state immensely, and that's how we're funded. So with that, you have to adjust. And the adjustment that we were making or decided to make and our board approved was to right size. So that was that 2021 bond work. But a few things were missing from that 2021 bond, and full operational and energy efficiency was one of them. And this 2023 opportunity presented itself and gave us the ability to really go after that and attack it, soup to nuts in our entire district from start to finish. So that zero mil piece would generate $25.5 million with no change to the tax rate and give us the opportunity to really finish this project and then continue on with more state-of-the-art facilities and opportunities for our stakeholders. I will pass this one off to our finance director, Kevin Terratuta.
All right, thanks, Billy. Oh, am I muted? No, good. All right, so many of you have seen this table before, but it's worth showing again as it's sort of a good visual that explains how this bond proposal, if passed, it will not change the tax rate. So what you see on your screen represents the millage rate estimated to be levied with the passing of the 2023 bond. This information was generated based on data and assumptions from our financial consultant, PFM. And currently the district levies 9.02 mils to make its debt payment obligations on bonds passed by voters in prior years. And the current estimate, the current estimate of current bonds payment obligations is represented by that tan bar. And then the blue bar on the chart represents the estimated levy that's needed with the passing of the 2023 bond. You'll note on this chart 3 primary items. The first is that the anticipated millage rate will not increase over the 9.02 mils at any time during the repayment period. You will also see that the final payment date on debt obligations is extended by 2 years through 2053. And finally, you will note that the anticipated tax levy could potentially decrease after 2039. Now, the process for determining what an appropriate millage rate to meet debt service obligations is, that is performed annually, and we actually present that at the June board meeting, which we actually just did last week. It has been asked of us how an additional $25.5 million can be generated if we just passed a bond a few years ago. And the short answer is that more than estimated property tax revenues are anticipated to be generated than had previously been calculated. So we had a chart like this a couple years ago, data and assumptions based on that time. But as we know, the last 3 years from that initial chart, the housing situation, property tax situation changed unexpectedly and significantly to the benefit of Clawson Public Schools. So that high level overview is really the reason why we're able to generate an additional $25.5 million without increasing the levy. So again, the big important thing to know on this slide is that the estimate for the debt millage will be unchanged with the passing of the 2023 bond. And what that means for you as a homeowner in Clawson is that the rate at which your property taxes are levied will be the same from year to year. So we'll move on, I guess, at this point. But again, any questions, any thoughts you have on the financial side of things, we can answer during the Q&A, and you can always reach me by email on that as well.
Thanks, Kevin. So let's dig in a little bit with the how, the bond development process. So I touched on it briefly, but when we decided to have that discussion a year ago and then look at our options and then really take those options and dig in, we wanted it to be open and transparent, the process itself, doing that diligence with the input of community, input of our school board, our teachers, our staff. Certainly all of the stakeholders were very important. So what we did was we started with a community forum, and from there, the board felt that it was important that we form a steering committee with all the stakeholders in our district and embark on that steering committee work that took about 3 months. That was community members, teachers, administrators, Chrisman, Wakely, civic leaders. Our city manager was a part of that. Mr. Shepard, one of our council members, was a part of that. So we covered a number of stakeholders in our community that were important to ensure that everybody had a voice. That took about 3 months to really discuss what is it that we want to do. Do we want to just go and pick up that additional 6 million and finish that 2021 scope, or do we want to extend it all the way up to 25.5 million? Well, unanimously, the steering committee voted to pursue the 25.5 million and really dig in with the projects in our district and the enhancements. And we took that, the 27-member steering committee recommendation was presented to the board. The board voted on a resolution 7-0 to move forward with that. We then embarked on things like tonight, community forum, community outreach opportunities. We'll continue that this summer. Starting next week, we're going to do some knock and drops. So we'll likely be knocking on your door to have some discussion, community members' doors to have some discussion to make sure that information is out there and everybody understands all of the pieces that they need to related to that August 8th vote. So again, we involved the community initially. We put together a steering committee. We took that to our Board of Education. Our Board of Education discussed it extensively. And this is over the course of 3 or 4 months. From there, it was voted upon, approved, and then and now here we are a few months out from that August 8th vote. So before I kick it off to Nikki and Brian, this is again just some review on what we have already touched on, but we'll start to dig into a little bit more to exactly what it is the project will look like. So again, this is a 0 mil bond, no change to the tax rate, to generate $25.5 million for Clawson Public Schools. So it's an opportunity to address and identify ongoing district-wide infrastructure needs and improvements. So as you'll see with Nikki and Brian, we'll touch on a little bit more detail around specific projects. Obviously, security and safety are top of the food chain related to priorities for us. So those enhancements will certainly be continue to be a big part. They're already a tremendous part of the 2021 bond and the work, but continued into the 2023 work if it is approved. Enhanced learning opportunities and instructional spaces. That's key here. At the end of the day, it is about our students and what they are receiving and how they are receiving it. And the enhanced learning opportunities will continue with if this bond is passed. Infrastructure and energy, as I mentioned earlier, we're talking about LED lights throughout the entire district, all doors and windows replaced, which is not fully a part of the 2021 bond right now. Site work and additional parking will be a big part of that, and athletics and physical education and instruction will continue to play a role in what we do related to our students' extracurriculars and some enhancements of those spaces. So if it's approved, construction would continue as it has been for a couple of years now through 2026. So that is the overview of what it is. And I think, if I'm right, Mary, I'm kicking it off to, there we go, Nikki and Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Billy. So Billy gave you a really high level idea of the 6 different categories that we've grouped we'll call them mini projects into, but Brian and I are just going to give you a little bit more information about the specifics of those sub-projects that fall into each category. So within safety and security, doing a complete replacement of exterior and interior doors with security upgrades district-wide. So any building, any room that we're touching right now that we're able to, we're replacing doors on, but this would bring the, and same with the exterior, this would bring the balance of the district all to be, matching, have consistent hardware across the district. So if a teacher were to move to a different classroom, the functionality of the door to their classroom would remain the same. Likewise, do the same thing with exterior building entry throughout, not just at the main entrance doors. Additionally, it would allow for expansion and remodeling of the high school main entrance to provide a really high-end space there, modeling after some of the other improvements we're seeing other districts make. And then also replacing all the exterior windows, falling under safety and security. As far as enhanced learning goes, it would be a complete replacement of the high school classroom casework, flooring, ceiling tiles, and paint within all areas of the high school. This is one of those components that unfortunately fell into the need category once we recognized the budget challenges that we had. So this would allow us to bring the rest of the high school back up to the status. Some additional outdoor education space, maximizing the use of some of that new green space that we're going to have between the different schools on the main campus. Remodel of the media centers district-wide, providing again that uniform and consistent learning space. And then in Kenwood, which is the future early childhood center, we do interior renovations that expand the classrooms and modernize the bathrooms. As far as physical education and instruction goes, we'd be making some modifications to allow for middle school team room addition, and then the high school locker room would be renovated.
Thanks, Nikki. So the other categories we have infrastructure and energy. There's several projects identified under that. The first being that the high school and the middle school, the bathrooms would be upgraded. That would mean the fixtures would be replaced, make sure we have proper water flow and temperature, and also the exhaust systems, make sure that those are back in line and working properly. The next bullet is facade repairs, which basically has to do with the exterior skins of the building, the brick masonry, the plaster systems, etc. There's several areas that are showing their age, and we want to make sure that we get that addressed, make sure all the skin is watertight, and that will take us into many years down the road. Next would be standardizing the PA and clock system at every building. So there's continuity, uniformity there for the users. That's a big one that really we need to take care of, and that's slated for to be done. Then also complete replacement of the lighting. So all the lighting in the district is LED, which would be much more efficient energy-wise and cost savings to the district. We're seeing that we're getting results and returns quicker than we thought we would in previous years. There used to be a pretty big lag in time of spending money to change fixtures to LED before getting a payback, but that is being reduced every year. So we should get a pretty good payback almost immediately. Plumbing improvements at the elementary gym. This is the current middle school gym where there's the lower level. We've got some issues down there to fix as far as the stormwater situations that we have had in the past. So we've got some improvements that we have slated for downstairs to fix that problem. And then this last one here, the maintenance garage addition at the high school. This will be back around by the soccer field area because what we had to do for the elementary school, which will be moving into the middle school, is the current maintenance area that's around the back of the building by the tennis courts. We actually captured that space and made it in the classrooms for the elementary grades. So we need to put something back for the maintenance folks and Toby and his crew and his vehicles and so forth, because we basically, I don't want to say stole those from them, but we did, and turned them into educational learning spaces. So we got to give them something back here so they can properly maintain this campus. The next category is site work and parking. So site work, the biggies are the the demolition in preparation for selling Shawm and Baker. I know that Billy's had some people working on that already and testing the water, so to speak. But we've got demolition numbers involved in there. The new campus sign, this will be off the new entranceway off of Phillips, that people will be coming in every morning to drop off their kids for every grade level. So they'll be passing this sign every morning. So it gives us a good opportunity to keep parents informed and up to date on information for the schools. Next is Kenwood parking lot improvements. As Nikki mentioned, one of the earlier bullets was to expand classrooms and give us more opportunities and spaces for Kenwood for the early childhood program. Talking with Claire and her staff, they will need to increase staff. So we're looking at taking some green space around the north side of Kenwood, making a staff parking lot, which would give the parents more space to park and walk their kids in on the west side of the building. So that'll be a good improvement over there. And then we've got some maintenance things. There's a lot of fencing around the campus, the main campus, and also around the Kenwood area that need to repair the fencing for the safety of students and so forth. The last bullet point is the athletics, looking to expand the middle school gym, which will actually be the elementary school gym. That'll allow us to have another cross court for practices after school for teams. So that's looking that's a very important component here to also make that gym playing surface a little larger. And then last but not least is at the high school, middle school, the cafeteria area. There's an old stage that was kind of walled off years and years ago, not used. It's kind of used for storage right now, but we're looking at that as an opportunity to repurpose that room and make that into more of a multi-purpose room for organizations, teams, events, things that would happen in there. It's a rather large space, and we feel that we can utilize that space much more efficiently than what is being utilized now. So that's another important bullet in the projects. I'll just roll right into here. This is a site plan, concept site plan of the main campus that we've got some numbers in blue and white here for you to just orientate yourself a little bit better. So number one, which is at the top of the very top of the page, there's a yellow rectangle. Actually, it's one and two. The middle school gym expansion that we just mentioned a few seconds ago. There you go. Whoever's got that cursor going, thank you very much. Is that Mary? Probably Mary. Yeah, that's Mary. Okay, thanks, Mary. So items 1 and 2 at the very top of the page. So that would be the expansion of the middle school gym, and also our ability to add a small team room. So for halftime, the teams can go in and talk with their coach and so forth. Number 3 is down the lower right-hand corner. There it is. That would be the location of the marquee sign somewhere in the grass area along Phillips for the parents. Number 4 is over on the left side. That would be, as Nikki mentioned, the remodeling of the old gymnasium locker rooms as they currently are today. They're just not used. We're looking at repurposing some spaces. So we have team rooms that'll enter right off of the gymnasium. So game times, these teams can go immediately from the gym floor into their team rooms. And then those old locker room spaces will be repurposed into more bathrooms for public, a lobby, a concession area, make it much more of a inviting space and much better for traffic flow as well during games and after games. Number 5, convert the basement locker room for storage. That's we mentioned that a little bit. That's also repairing our storm sewer issue downstairs. That's actually below the current gymnasium, but then Toby's staff can utilize that for a better place for building storage. Number 6, as Nikki mentioned, also there's right on both sides of the middle school there, we're creating these courtyards, and currently right now they'll be finished off just as grass areas, but we'd like to develop those more with some furniture and some other things that can make them more of an outdoor learning space for elementary, middle, and high school students. So we'd like to really develop those and get feedback from staff on what they'd like to see for that. I think that'd be a very exciting addition to the campus. Number 7, again, as Nikki mentioned there, we'd like to expand that high school entrance and also update it. We're going to have, if you've been by the middle school now, you see some of the nice blue panels that are going up at the middle school entrance. The elementary entrance that's off to the right will also have the similar colors. We'd like to do that same thing for the high school, just to tie in all the 3 grade levels, the high school, elementary, middle, and high school, tie them all together as a uniform campus. Number 8 is the maintenance garage we talked about in the back area by the soccer field there for Toby and his staff, which coincidentally is just right next to where their maintenance shop is at the high school. So it makes perfect sense for that location for Toby and his staff. Number 9, as Nikki mentioned, the remodeling of the media centers just to give us more enhanced learning abilities. So all grade levels have the same opportunity for enhanced learning. And then number 10, down the lower part, that's the actual cafeteria area and where that old stage was that would become the multi-purpose room for the building. The Kenwood site, again, we talked about the parking area. On the right-hand side would be the additional staff parking lot because we're going to be reorganizing the rooms inside to gain us more classroom spaces to expand our enrollment. So on the right-hand side would be a staff parking lot. On the lower left, down in the bottom, we would increase that parking lot. That's the parking lot that would be people coming to see the administrative staff, business department, and so on. And they would have their own entrance. You see on the bottom of the page there, it says admin entrance way. So visitors coming to see those folks would not be going through the early childhood hallways at all. They'll have their own entranceway and parking lot to come right in and do their business with the staff. The early childhood parents will be in the parking lot up at the top there in the middle. And you can see there's a red arrow that says ECC entrance and then new ECC offices. We're going to be capturing one of the classrooms and make that a new secured entrance and office area for parents coming in on a daily basis for that. And then bullet number 2, which is kind of scattered around, as Nikki mentioned again, interior remodeling of rooms and toilet rooms, etc., to really give us a state-of-the-art early childhood center when we're all done. Moving to Kenwood is such a benefit for them. We're gaining a cafeteria, we're gaining a media center. They currently have a gymnasium at the current Baker building that really serves, 3-4 different functions at the same time. But moving to this building really gives them the ability to spread out and hold different types of activities and different environments for the children. And we're really excited about the way that project's turning out. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, so thank you, Nikki and Brian. So this pie chart is a really great illustration as to how the bond dollars, if approved on August 8th, would be allocated. So they're grouped in the 7 different investment areas that Nikki and Brian just went through in more detail. So it's pretty spread out through all the different investment areas. So that basically is kind of the what part of the presentation tonight. So now we'll move on and talk about some when. When is all this taking place? And it's right now. So on June 29th, the absentee ballots will be mailed. So for those that are registered as a permanent recipient of absentee ballots, those are going to be going out in the next couple of weeks. The last day to register online or by mail is July 24th. But of course, you can register anytime in person up to 8 p.m. on election day by going into your city clerk's office. And then, of course, August 8th is election day. So the polls open at 7 a.m. and they'll be closing at 8 p.m. So we want to make sure that you're registered to vote by going to the website there, michigan.gov/vote. You can vote at home by requesting your absentee ballot at that same website. And we would just encourage you to share the information with your neighbors and get involved, get out and vote, and because every voice matters. And And all the information is uploaded on the clawsonbond2023.com website. And there's your contact information. So I'm going to turn it back over to our superintendent to field some questions and answers.
Thanks, Mary. So at any point in time, please reach out to myself, Kevin, or Toby with via phone or email with questions or guidance on any of this. Happy to help. So good time to transition into a Q&A and open it up for questions, discussion, thoughts, concerns, anything that anyone on the call has that they want to touch base on. Please feel free to do so at this time.
Billy, there's a question, just as from Clawson resident. It says, if this is not approved, do taxes go down versus stay the same? Also, why is this election being held in August versus the more widely known November election cycle?
I'll defer to the first part. I would say maybe Kevin, can you grab that first part, and Mary or Brett take on part B?
Sure. So I'll start. So could you actually run back to that slide for me, Mary?
Sure can.
So the question is, if the vote is no on the 2023 bond, will our property tax levy decrease? And the answer is it's going to be essentially a shorter time frame than passing. So as you see here, that tan bar starts to decrease potentially after a few years. So if 2023 is not approved during our annual cycle of looking at the debt service millage, current projection looks to be end of 2025, probably tax year 26, that there might be some potential for a decrease in the levy depending on the debt service that is needed. So that would be a potential, basically, to answer that question about as succinctly as I can.
And could you repeat the second half of that question, Brett?
Yes. Yep. Why is this election being held in August versus the more widely known November election cycle?
Sure. So I'll start that question, and then Brian and Nikki, if you want to pipe in. Because part of that, because of the scope that was deferred with the bid packages and everything, it would allow construction to continue on in the most efficient and economical way. And as far as design and everything.
Yep. So what Brian and I have been discussing is, the next move for us from the construction standpoint is to go into Kenwood and start transitioning that into the ECC and the admin offices. And in order for us to be economical and efficient with our time there, we want to know and need to know whether or not we're going to be able to do the full scope that is desired, or if we have to do a portion of it.
To add to that, Nikki, that's perfect. That's perfect segue into, I think, what's most important here is that when the board approved this, when was that, Mary? When did the steering committee? March? Was it March maybe?
Yep. So the steering committee made their recommendation in February, and I believe it was voted on in March.
So they made the decision to move forward in March. We needed, based on what Nikki just said, we needed it to be on the next ballot that it could be on. May was obviously not an option, and maybe Brett, you can speak to that from a timing perspective. So August became the next option. So, timing was integral to Nikki's point and related to the work that they need to plan to continue to do or not to do. So efficiency, as Nikki said as well, was crucial here. In order to do that, we have to get it on the next ballot that we could, and May not being viable, August became the next viable opportunity. Brett, am I close to being correct on that?
Yeah, yep. The deadline to make the May ballot was back in February. So that, there was no way we could have made the May ballot. And the other part of that too is that November is also an off-year election, so it still would be a special election, whether it was in August or November. So there's that aspect of it too.
I think it's important. And Nikki, I apologize. You know what? I may have stopped you short or interrupted you. That's my fault. Did you have something else to add to that? Sorry.
Nope, I was just getting to the same point, Billy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Other thoughts, questions, anyone might have tonight?
So far, no more comments have come into the chat, and I don't see anybody with their hand up.
And again, while we wait another minute or two for anybody, if they think of any, Kevin, Mary, can you throw up, get to that last slide one more time? With our
If I
contact info?
If I could, Billy, yeah, and I also put on the in the chat too a hot link to the website as well, the bond website. If anyone wants to check that out, that's there too.
You know, I've had a couple of conversations over the phone with residents in recent weeks, and I'm happy to do that over the phone, have them come into my office, meet for coffee, over email. So we're always available and happy to chat about this.
And here's a question from Eric. What happens to all of the projects proposed if the vote is no?
What happens to all the projects proposed if the vote is no? Brian, maybe what you want to take a stab at that one?
Well, just to put it bluntly, the projects will not happen. As Nikki mentioned about the timing aspect really has an effect on the conversion of Kenwood, which we're pretty far into the design of that, but knowing whether or not those additional funds will be available will impact, how we finish the drawings of Kenwood. But to put it bluntly, all the other projects we spoke of earlier today will not happen. There will be no money to fund those projects, and they will just not happen.
And I think to add to that, there are some of the scope from 2021 may not get fully finished or completed. I mean, that still hangs. I mean, this started with a near $7 million deficit related to inflation. Fortunately, that has come down a little bit, but that still remains, times are not what they were when we started this project. So that leaves some of the 2021 project scope hanging in the balance as well. It's a good question, though. Any other thoughts or questions from anyone? You can maybe get them answered when you hear a knock on your door next week and see me standing there in a pink shirt that says vote yes on it, which is outside of work hours, Mary. That's how we talk, which is hopefully I'm not breaking the rules by saying that, but we'll be out and about. The campaign committee will be out and about to bring forth appropriate information for everyone to make sure they have the information that they need for August 8th. What else, guys? Anything else?
I'm not seeing anyone raising their hand and nothing else in the chat.
Okay. Well, we probably can conclude and wrap up then. Again, I'll say it ad nauseum. Feel free to reach out to me or Kevin or Toby anytime. Happy to have any discussions, as many as you need to, answer as many questions as we need to. We know this is important for everyone involved in terms of having the information, appropriate information that is needed to make an informed decision on August 8th. So hopefully this helped tonight. Again, this will be uploaded to the 2023 bond website. And I will likely email this out as well to all of our Clawson Public Schools families, so they have it in their inbox as well. So I think with that, I'll thank the Chrisman team, the Wakely team, the Clawson Public Schools team for being here tonight and joining. Thanks to Steve for setting it up on the tech side. We appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who took the time to join us tonight and have some discussion. We appreciate it. Have a great evening and a fantastic summer, and we will see you on August 8th, if not sooner. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.